I stood there, rooted at the center of our opulently decorated living room, an envelope in my grasp that seemed to vibrate with the weight of what it contained. The room, once a sanctuary of peace, now felt like a battleground, its corners echoing with the tension that charged the air. Crystal chandeliers reflected a cold, artificial light, casting long, skewed shadows across the plush carpet, mirroring the twisted reflections of my heart. Before me, Emily and Mark stood frozen, their expressions an unsettling blend of shock and fear. Their faces were a pale tableau of disbelief, emotions flitting rapidly across their features like a silent movie reel. In this unspoken chaos, I found a savage satisfaction. The deception was no longer shrouded in comfort and lies. Emily, the woman I once knew so intimately, appeared as a stranger to me now. Her eyes, those familiar pools of green that once promised love and loyalty, were blank, devoid of the warmth I had cherished. I couldn't reconcile this vision with the gentle caress of her voice that had lulled me into complacency for so many years. Her words of love, now hollow and deceitful, rang in my ears, a cruel mockery of the vows we had exchanged. Mark, the interloper in this tragic farce, seemed equally lost for words. His wide eyes darted between Emily and me, seeking an escape that the walls of this room would not grant. A part of me relished the irony of his discomfiture, watching the fabric of their shared deceit unravel before his eyes. The envelope felt heavy in my hands, not just with the evidence it contained but with the weight of every broken promise, every stolen glance, and every late-night whisper that was never meant for me. It was a Pandora's box that, once opened, would spill its contents into the world, irrevocably changing everything we had known. I let my gaze drift back to the past, to memories that seemed now like a cruel trick of time. There was Emily in the garden last summer, her laughter like music, as Lily and I watched her dance in the sunlit afternoon. That Emily seemed worlds apart from the woman standing before me now. The contrast was jarring, like a cruel twist of fate delivered with surgical precision. Beneath the surface of my stoic demeanor, a storm raged. My heart, a battleground of love and hate, floundered amid the wreckage of trust and infidelity. I saw the woman I had loved and the man who had masqueraded as my friend, and I was struck by the enormity of their betrayal. It wasn't just the affair. It was the dismantling of everything I had believed in, the slow erasure of our shared history. As I stood before them, my internal monologue painted a bleak landscape of betrayal and longing for retribution. I had played the role of the unsuspecting husband too well, allowing myself to be blinded by the illusion of what once was. The hurt was raw, a visceral wound that cut through the core of my being. Yet, beneath the pain, there was a simmering resolve, a determination forged in the fires of deceit. Their silence stretched out like a taut string, threatening to snap at any moment. I watched them, felt the sharpness of their reality slicing through my illusions. The envelope in my hands was more than just paper and ink. It was the culmination of months spent in disbelief, nights spent questioning, moments of doubt growing like shadows in an otherwise sunny landscape. With a deep breath, I felt the scales finally tip. The time for hesitation had passed. It was a moment of reckoning, the culmination of everything that had led us here. The finality of it all was both terrifying and exhilarating, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit when pushed to the brink. As I prepared to speak, to unleash the storm that would dismantle the fragile facade they had constructed, I felt a strange calm wash over me. This was not the end but a beginning of sorts. A chance to reclaim my life from the ashes of what had been, to seek out a new dawn unfettered by the shadows of betrayal. I looked at them, this woman and her lover, and saw not just the end of a chapter, but the potential for something new. A narrative forged in the crucible of pain and retribution, one that would eventually lead me away from this moment, into a world where I could learn to rebuild and redefine who I was. The envelope quivered slightly in my hands, an omen of the justice that was about to unfold. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden hue over our suburban neighborhood as I pulled into the driveway, the familiar silhouette of our two-story house standing like a monument to the life Emily and I had built together. The sight stirred a warmth in my chest, a comfort that had become rote, yet satisfying. The evening's tranquility belied the storm that would later engulf everything I held dear. Lily swung open the front door before I even reached it, her face bright with youthful exuberance. "Dad!" she called, bounding down the steps. Her embrace was a balm to my weary soul, a reminder of the life we had worked so diligently to craft. In her eyes, I saw the reflection of the future I had once imagined, an unbroken line of family moments stretching infinitely ahead. Inside, the aroma of Emily's cooking greeted me, promising warmth and togetherness. The kitchen, the heart of our home, buzzed with the clattering of pots and pans, Emily moving with practiced grace. Her presence was a familiar melody, and I couldn't help but smile as I watched her stir the sauce, her movements fluid and unself-conscious. Our dinner unfolded like countless others before it, the conversation light and punctuated by laughter. Lily regaled us with tales of her day at school, her words weaving the fabric of our evening with stories of friends and classes, the tapestry of her young life unfurling before us. Her laughter was infectious, drawing out warmth from the deepest corners of my heart. As I listened, I allowed myself to drift, tracing the contours of our life, our dreams. Emily's gentle laughter interlaced with Lily's, creating a symphony of familial contentment. It was moments like these, I reflected, that formed the core of my happiness. The unscheduled, authentic seconds of shared joy. Emily met my gaze across the table, her eyes holding mine for a fraction longer than usual, as if searching for something unspoken. In that brief exchange, I saw the Emily I had fallen in love with, her charm and grace, her unwavering belief in the future we were crafting together. I let the comfort of those moments wash over me, dispelling the shadows of doubt that sometimes clouded my mind. After dinner, as the evening stretched into night, the three of us settled into our respective routines. Lily retreated to her room, her door closing on a world of teenage secrets and dreams. Emily and I lingered in the living room, a glass of wine in each hand, the low hum of the television a backdrop to our quiet companionship. Our conversation drifted naturally to the future, to plans and possibilities. Emily spoke with enthusiasm about the trip we had been planning, her eyes lighting up with excitement as she detailed our itinerary. I watched her, losing myself in the cadence of her voice, the warmth in her words. It was easy to believe in the picture she painted, a life of continued love and shared adventures. Yet, even as we spoke of travel and dreams, a part of me noted the subtle shifts in her demeanor, the nuanced hesitations that hadn't been there before. They were small, almost imperceptible, but enough to set a pebble of doubt rolling down the slopes of my mind. As the night deepened, Emily excused herself, retreating upstairs to a realm of her own thoughts. I lingered a moment longer, allowing the peace of the evening to settle over me. Our life was a picture of contentment, a canvas colored by shared experiences and mutual understanding, or so I had believed. Closing my eyes, I drifted back to the images of our past, moments captured in the amber glow of memory. Emily laughing in the garden, Lily's small hand tucked safely in mine on a family hike, the warmth of a sun-kissed afternoon spent by the lake. Each memory was a testament to the love we had nurtured, a love I had thought invincible. In the quiet of the living room, the shadows lengthened, whispering secrets I was not yet ready to hear. I opened my eyes, the room's familiar contours anchoring me to the present. Somewhere in the depths of my mind, a seed of suspicion was sown, a seed I would choose to ignore for a while longer, preferring the illusion of our perfect life. The house settled around me, the comforting creaks and sighs of our home syncing with my heartbeat. It was easy to believe, for a moment longer, in the stability of our life and the strength of our love. Yet beneath the surface, change lurked, quietly biding its time. As I turned off the lights and made my way upstairs, I couldn't shake the feeling that the evening's tranquility was but a fragile veneer, a mere pause before the inevitable shifting of our world. Emily's behavior began to morph subtly, like a chameleon in the twilight shifting its hues, leaving me on edge, alert, yet yearning for ignorance. It started with late nights, Her return home signaled by the hesitant click of the door around hours when the night had settled comfortably over our suburban facade. She would offer explanations as smooth as silk, tales of reports and deadlines that demanded her relentless attention. At first, I accepted them. Work was work, after all. Yet, the frequency of these nights increased, weaving a pattern that felt too intricate to be purely professional. Her laughter, once a soft melody that played throughout our home, grew more reserved, whispered into the phone when she thought I couldn't hear. One evening, as I rifled through the bathroom essentials, my fingers grazed a bottle of perfume. It was a lavish, exotic scent. Something new, something unfamiliar. I held it for a moment, its glass surface cool against my skin, contemplating the implications it held. A gift, perhaps? Yet, no special occasion called for such indulgence, nor had she mentioned its arrival. I placed it back, a puzzled frown creasing my forehead, dismissing it as an indulgent whimsy. Yet its presence lingered in my mind, an unwelcome guest at the back of my consciousness. The changes were subtle, almost imperceptible. A new password on her phone, her swift pivot of the screen when I passed by. Trust had always been the currency of our relationship, and these minor shifts felt like counterfeit notes slipping through my fingers. I brushed it aside initially, unwilling to stain our idyll with skepticism. But one evening, as Emily prepared for another late meeting, I noticed it, a receipt, innocuous in its appearance yet damning in its revelation. Tucked carelessly into her purse, it bore the emblem of a hotel I knew well. I studied it, the date stamped clear against the white paper, a date that aligned too perfectly with one of her supposed work nights. My stomach churned, a cold hand pressing down on my chest, compressing each breath I took. These seeds of doubt sprouted quickly, flourishing in the fertile soil of my insecurities. A storm brewed within me, echoing the tumultuous weather outside. I found myself scrutinizing every interaction, every word exchanged between us, searching for cracks that might reveal the chasm growing beneath the surface. The hotel receipt, a detail she hadn't bothered to conceal, haunted my thoughts, a specter of betrayal hovering over our shared spaces. Emily's laughter at dinner now sounded hollow, her eyes meeting mine with a light that felt practiced, not genuine. Our conversations, once seamless, became fractured, tinged with an undercurrent of tension that neither of us dared to address. Lily, blissfully unaware, carried on with the innocent optimism that only youth can sustain, her laughter still ringing out like a clarion call of normalcy in a house slowly filling with shadows. I held on to those moments with her, my anchor in a sea of uncertainty. I tried to rationalize Emily's actions, to dismiss these thoughts as paranoia, figments conjured by a weary mind. Yet, the evidence mounted, a parade of doubt marching relentlessly through my consciousness. Her smile felt distant, her affection mechanical, each gesture rehearsed and lacking the spontaneity that had once drawn me to her. The fabric of our life, once tightly woven, began to fray at the edges, loose threads revealing the space between reality and facade. I watched her more closely, noting the way she checked her phone with furtive glances, her fingers dancing over the screen with a familiarity that excluded me. I grappled with these feelings privately, unwilling to voice them aloud, lest they solidify into an undeniable truth. My mind was a tumult of contradictions, a yearning to believe in her innocence warring with the insistent whisper that screamed of deceit. I was trapped in a silent scream, my world teetering precariously on the edge of revelation. As days turned into weeks, my observations became a new form of intimacy, a way to connect with the woman I felt was slipping from my grasp. I traced the patterns of her distance, charting the map of our evolving relationship, each misstep a pinprick in the geography of our love. In the quiet of our evenings, as we sat side by side yet worlds apart, I felt the weight of unsaid words pressing down on us, a silent cacophony of mistrust and fear. The shadows lengthened, whispering secrets I was still not ready to hear. But the seed of suspicion had been sown, and as much as I wanted to ignore it, it thrived, growing stronger with each elusive smile, each unreturned touch. The house, once a refuge, became a stage for this silent play of doubt and denial. I sensed an impending shift, a confrontation that loomed on the horizon, inevitable, undeniable. And beneath it all, a resolve began to form, cold and clear as winter's breath, urging me towards a truth I wasn't sure I was prepared to face. The cold glow of my computer screen was the only illumination in the darkened study, casting long shadows that danced on the walls as I delved into the digital traces of Emily's life. The quiet of the house felt suffocating, the eerie silence only broken by the occasional rustle of leaves against the windows. Each keystroke echoed my mounting determination to uncover the truth that hid just beneath the surface of our constructed reality. It began with an anonymous message that appeared in my social media inbox, an unexpected whisper in the digital void. The words were cryptic yet charged with a knowing intimacy that sent a chill cascading down my spine. "Do you know where she is tonight?" it asked, a single thread of doubt I couldn't ignore. The message was unsigned, yet its presence was a catalyst, forcing me to confront the gnawing suspicion that had taken root in my heart. Driven by a need as primal as it was painful, I began scouring Emily's online presence, each click a step further into a life I had thought I knew. The mouse hovered over her social media profiles, my eyes searching for anything out of place, any hint of her hidden world. I became a digital detective, piecing together the puzzle that was our shared life. My investigation soon led me to a string of carefully curated photos, a visual diary of events and places that had seemingly escaped my notice. It was in one of these images, a candid shot tagged at a restaurant I had never visited, where I first saw them together. Emily, her smile radiant, her head leaning towards Mark in a familiar pose, their shared laughter captured in a moment that felt like a knife to my heart. Each discovery was a blow, a confirmation of my worst fears. The digital breadcrumbs painted a picture I couldn't reconcile with the woman I had spent years loving. I began to see the patterns I had missed before, the clues hiding in plain sight. Every picture, every post was a testament to a secret life playing out just beyond my periphery. The next confrontation came at a social gathering, a charity event Emily and I attended together. Mark was there too, his presence radiating the same unwelcome intimacy I had seen in the photos. I watched them from a distance, their bodies unconsciously leaning towards each other. Subtle touches exchanged when they thought no one was watching. My gaze was fixed, tracing the contours of their familiarity, the unspoken bond that spoke volumes in silence. I approached Mark with calculated nonchalance, masking the turmoil that churned beneath my calm exterior. Our exchange was brief, cloaked in veiled pleasantries and polite smiles, yet loaded with an undercurrent of competition and tension. As we parted, his eyes met mine with a challenge I couldn't ignore, a silent acknowledgement of the dance we were both entangled in. That night, as Emily slept beside me, I made up my mind. I needed the truth laid bare, undeniable and complete. The following day, I sought the help of a private investigator, a professional who could navigate the shadows I could not reach. It was a necessity driven by a need for closure, an affirmation of the suspicions that had become my constant companions. Days turned into a week, each moment stretched taut with anticipation. The investigator's report arrived in a plain, unassuming envelope, its weight a promise of answers. I sat there, the room closing in around me as I opened it, each page a revelation, each word a decisive blow to the foundation of my beliefs. The details were stark and unembellished, times and places meticulously recorded, photographs capturing moments I had desperately wished were fantasies of a cynical mind. Emily and Mark, their meetings laid out in black and white, each rendezvous a betrayal etched into the timeline of our lives. Confronted with the proof, I was left with a choice, one that would define the course of the days to come. Rage simmered beneath the surface, a seething current threatening to tear through the facade of normalcy I clung to so desperately. Yet, amidst the storm of emotions, a new resolve took shape, a determination to reclaim my life one calculated move at a time. The truth was undeniable, now fully realized and unavoidable. The weight of their betrayal bore down on me, sharp and relentless. But instead of crumbling under its pressure, I found a clarity I hadn't known before. a purpose that would guide me through the murky waters of deceit toward the dawn of retribution. I closed the folder, sealing away the evidence of Emily's infidelity within its confines for now. The path before me was clear, its end marked by justice served and my own sense of liberation. I knew then that the moment of reckoning was imminent, and I was finally ready to face the truth head-on, to confront Emily with the full force of what I knew, and to reclaim the narrative of my life from the shadows of betrayal. The night hung heavy around me as I sat in our dimly lit living room, the weight of the impending confrontation pressing down like a physical force. Emily was due home soon, and I could feel the tension building, coiling inside me like a spring ready to snap. My heart pounded a relentless rhythm, each beat a countdown to the moment I would lay everything bare. This was the night where illusions would shatter and truths would emerge, stark and unyielding. The evidence lay before me, a battleground of papers and photos that delineated the boundary between ignorance and reality. I had spent the last few days steeling myself for this, girding my heart against the flood of emotions that threatened to drown me. When the door finally clicked open, bringing with it a gust of cold air and the soft scent of Emily's familiar perfume, I remained seated, a deliberate calm settling over me. Emily paused in the doorway, her silhouette framed against the backdrop of our hallway, her eyes quickly adjusting to the dimness as she noticed me. "John." Her voice was tentative, a flicker of surprise coloring her words. "You're still up." I nodded slowly, gesturing for her to join me. "We need to talk." The simplicity of my words belied the storm beneath them, a deceptive calm before the tempest. Her brow furrowed, curiosity mingling with apprehension as she approached, settling into the armchair opposite me. "Is something wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with a familiarity that stung more than comforted. My gaze fell to the envelope before me, the damning evidence hidden away but ever present in my mind. I took a deep breath, feeling the room constrict around us as I prepared to dismantle the fragile facade that had become our life. "I know about you and Mark." Her reaction was immediate, a sharp intake of breath, her eyes widening, disbelief flashing across her features. "What are you talking about?" It was an instinctual denial, a reflexive grasp at maintaining the charade. But there was no space left for deceit between us. I leaned forward, the urgency of my words cutting through the air like a knife. "Stop lying, Emily. I know about your affair. I've seen the photos, the receipts. I've got the entire sordid timeline laid out right here." The silence that followed was suffocating, a void echoing with the ghosts of our past. Emily's defenses crumbled visibly, her shoulders slumping as if under an invisible weight. Her eyes, once wide with alarm, now shimmered with unshed tears, a mirror of the turmoil roiling within her. "John, Her voice faltered, the words trailing off into a whisper, an admission hanging heavy in the air. "I didn't mean for it to happen." A bitter laugh escaped me, harsh and uncontained. "You didn't mean for it to happen? How many times, Emily? How many lies did you tell yourself to justify this?" Her eyes met mine, pleading, as if searching for understanding amid the wreckage of what we once shared. "I was unhappy, John. I felt lost, invisible. You were so absorbed in your work, in providing for us, that I felt like we were drifting apart." Her confession hit me with the force of a tidal wave, threatening to erode the anger that had become my shield. But I steeled myself, refusing to let it distract from the betrayal that had torn through the fabric of our lives. "And you think this was the solution? To cheat, to deceive?" Tears finally broke free, carving paths down her cheeks, silent witnesses to her remorse. "I know I was wrong, but I didn't know how else to feel alive." The breath I drew in was shaky, a mix of rage and resignation. Alive! The word felt foreign on my tongue, a mocking echo of the life we had built. "And what about our life, Emily? What about us?" Her tears fell freely now, each drop a testament to the unraveling of our shared story. "I never wanted to hurt you, or Lily. I thought I could end it. But then..." The words lingered, lost in the expanse between us, an admission that couldn't be undone. My heart, once a battleground of love and trust, was now a wasteland of shattered dreams. I sat back, the weight of her confession settling over me like a shroud. "I trusted you," I finally whispered, the words carrying the full weight of the love and faith I had once held for her. "I believed in you, in us, and this is how you repay that." Emily's sobs filled the silence, a haunting melody of regret and despair. Yet, amidst the wreckage, I found a strange sense of relief, a liberation from the shadows that had clouded our lives. The truth had been spoken, irrevocable and undeniable, and with it came the possibility of moving forward. "I want you to leave," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "We need space, Emily. I need to figure out how to heal from this." She nodded slowly, the reality of her actions crashing down around her. The night stretched on, a solitary journey through the remnants of our shared history, each step a movement towards the inevitable dawn. As Emily gathered a few belongings, her retreat silent and somber, I felt the remnants of our life shifting, realigning in her absence. The house, once filled with shared laughter and whispered dreams, now stood bereft, a shell echoing with the past. I watched her go, the door closing softly behind her, a punctuation mark on the end of a chapter. Alone in the stillness, I was left with the task of rebuilding, of crafting a future from the ashes of what had once been. In the quiet aftermath of Emily's departure, the house felt eerily empty, like a stage after the final curtain call, its silence a stark reminder of what had been lost. I lingered in the living room, the evidence of betrayal still spread across the table like pieces of a broken mosaic. Each photograph, each receipt, was a physical manifestation of the deception that had unraveled the tapestry of our lives. A collection of hurts that demanded redress. A new resolve took root within me, fed by the fertile ground of hurt and humiliation. I found myself consumed by a need for justice, an intense, unyielding drive to reclaim the narrative of my life and expose the lies that had woven themselves so intricately into it. The path to revenge unfolded before me, clear and undeniable, marked by a cool, calculated precision I never knew I possessed. In the days following the confrontation, I set about gathering the tools needed for my plan. The tech-savvy friend I had once turned to for advice on trivial matters now became an invaluable ally. Quietly, we worked to uncover the hidden corners of Emily's life, tracing her digital footprints with the precision of a hunter stalking prey. Each new piece of information was another stitch in the fabric of my retribution, a step closer to the moment when the truth would no longer be contained. I watched from a distance as Emily and Mark carried on, oblivious to the storm brewing just beyond their awareness. Emily's attempts to maintain a facade of normalcy were painfully transparent, her interactions with Lily a strained echo of the mother she had once been. I marveled at her ability to compartmentalize her life, to continue as if the foundation beneath our feet hadn't shifted irrevocably. Mark was a different story. His confidence grated on me, a smug assurance that seemed to mock the turmoil he had unleashed in my life. He moved through his days with an air of invincibility, secure in the belief that his transgressions would remain hidden. But I had uncovered a chink in his armor, an Achilles heel that presented itself in the form of unethical business dealings. It was an opportunity too ripe to ignore, a chance to turn his own deceit against him. I immersed myself in the intricacies of his work, unearthing discrepancies and missteps with the determination of a man on a mission. Each discovery was a victory, a step toward the justice he so richly deserved. The evidence mounted, a damning collection of documents that painted a picture of corruption and greed. The same instincts that had once driven my career now guided this covert pursuit, honed to a razor-sharp edge by the simmering need for vengeance. As the gala drew near, the final piece of my plan fell into place. It was an event that promised opulence and grandeur, one I had once looked forward to attending with Emily by my side, a celebration of success and shared dreams. Now, it presented the perfect stage for revelation, a theater in which truth would take center stage and deceit would be laid bare for all to see. On the night of the gala, I dressed with deliberate care, my reflection in the mirror a portrait of calm determination. The suit felt unfamiliar, a costume donned for a role I never imagined I would play. Yet it suited the occasion, a cloak of confidence beneath which my heart beat a steady rhythm of resolve. As I arrived at the venue, a buzz of anticipation crackled in the air, the guests blissfully unaware of the performance about to unfold. I moved through the crowd, exchanging pleasantries with acquaintances, my demeanor belying the storm that churned within. Emily was there, her presence a flicker of familiarity in a sea of strangers. She laughed and mingled, her world a fragile construct of pretense and denial. The moment of truth came swiftly, a crescendo of anticipation and dread. With a nod to the technician, the room darkened, a spotlight finding its mark as the projector whirred to life. The evidence I had so meticulously gathered sprang to life on the screen, a tableau of betrayal and deceit projected for all to see. Gasps rippled through the crowd, shockwaves radiating outward as the truth unfolded in vivid detail. Emily's face, once composed, crumbled under the weight of exposure, her social mask shattered in an instant. Mark stood frozen, his confidence evaporating as his world imploded around him. The whispers and murmurs of the crowd swelled to a roar, a cacophony of judgment and disdain that echoed the vindication I felt within. The gala ended in chaos, the aftermath a beautiful ruin of lost respect and shattered illusions. As I stood amidst the wreckage, I felt a deep sense of relief and satisfaction, a cathartic release of all the pain and betrayal that had once consumed me. The revenge was complete, its conclusion a testament to the resilience of a spirit tested by fire and found unyielding. In the aftermath, I found myself alone on the periphery of the gathering, the echoes of disbelief and judgment fading into the night. The path ahead was uncharted, a new dawn untainted by the shadows of betrayal. With a deep breath, I turned away from the scene of my triumph, the darkness giving way to the promise of a new beginning. As the last echoes of the gala's betrayal hung in the air, I walked away from the crumbling facades behind me, the weight of retribution lifting with each step. My heart was a stormy sea of conflicting emotions, triumph intermingled with a lingering ache, the cost of justice exacted from the fabric of our shared history. The night stretched out before me, a canvas of opportunity and uncertainty, the future a distant horizon painted with both promise and trepidation. The path ahead was mine to tread, unmarred by deceit yet marked by the scars of love and loss. Each step away from the gala felt like a pilgrimage toward healing, a journey I had once feared but now embraced with renewed resolve. Back home, the echoes of laughter, whispers, and disbelief faded into the quietude of the night. The house, our once peaceful haven, stood silent, a sentinel of memory and regret. Inside, I found a strange solace in the solitude. The walls, though filled with shadows of the past, also held the potential for renewal, a space I could reclaim and redefine in the absence of betrayal. I settled into the familiar embrace of my study, its quiet comfort a balm to my weary soul. The evidence that had once been my burden now lay discarded, a collection of ghosts I was ready to leave behind. It was time to turn the page, to begin a chapter unmarred by deceit and dominated by the freedom to write a narrative of my own choosing. In the stillness, I allowed myself the luxury of reflection, a moment to gather the fragmented pieces of my life and shape them into something whole. The journey had been treacherous, a path lined with pain and tears, but amid the ruins, I found a core of resilience I hadn't known existed. It was a quiet strength, a foundation on which to rebuild, one decision at a time. As I sat there, the events of the evening replayed in my mind, a slow-motion reel of revelations and reckonings. Emily's face, etched with shock and disbelief, lingered in my thoughts, a reminder of love's fragility and the power of truth to unravel even the most carefully constructed facade. Yet, beneath the tumult, I felt a flicker of compassion, a recognition of her humanity and her fallibility that tempered my triumph with understanding. Mark's downfall was absolute. His business dealings laid bare for all to see. His arrogance, once a grating presence, had been his undoing, a testament to the destructive power of greed and deception. I took no pleasure in his ruin, only a sober acknowledgement of the justice served, a closing of the chapter in which he had played such a pivotal role. As the night deepened, my thoughts turned to Lily, the beacon of light in our turbulent world. Her laughter, her innocence, and her unwavering faith in our family were treasures I vowed to protect at all costs. In her eyes, I saw the legacy of love and hope I wished to preserve, a promise of brighter days unmarred by the shadows of the past. I rose, my footsteps guided by a newfound purpose, a commitment to healing and to the rediscovery of joy in the simple moments of life. Moving through the house, I felt its potential as a place of beginnings, a sanctuary where trust could be rebuilt and stories could unfold anew. Reaching Lily's room, I paused, listening to the soft rhythm of her breath, the melody of her dreams a comforting presence in the night. In her slumber, I saw the future, uncomplicated and pure, a reflection of the life I aspired to create for us both. Her room, filled with evidence of her burgeoning interests and aspirations, was a testament to the resilience of youth, an inspiration and a challenge to be her anchor in the storm. Returning to my own room, I allowed myself a moment of quiet gratitude for the journey survived, for the lessons learned in the crucible of betrayal and the strength discovered in adversity. The path ahead was uncharted, unmarked by the certainties of before, yet rich with the promise of renewal and rebirth. As I lay down, the weight of the evening lifted, replaced by a profound sense of peace, a knowing that while the past could not be changed, the future was a canvas waiting to be painted with hope, forgiveness, and love. The dawn was yet to come, but as sleep claimed me, I found solace in the quiet certainty that no matter the challenges, I had the strength and the will to forge a path toward the light. The morning light crept through the curtains, a gentle nudge into consciousness, signaling the start of a new chapter in my life. My mind stirred slowly, disentangling itself from the remnants of dreams where past and present mingled, taunting me with echoes of what had been and what might still be. I rose with deliberate ease, savoring the stillness that enveloped the house. It was a silence that no longer felt like absence, but rather a canvas on which to sketch the future. A quiet confidence thrummed within me, built on the foundation of the truths I had finally confronted. The burden of betrayal had lightened, giving way to the strength of resolution and the promise of new beginnings. The kitchen welcomed me with the familiar aroma of freshly brewed coffee, its warmth a comforting embrace. I stood for a moment, cup cradled in hand, gazing out the window as the neighborhood stirred to life. It seemed unchanged, unaware of the personal upheaval that had silently played out within its bounds. Yet, I felt different, altered by the crucible of pain yet tempered into resilience. Lily joined me soon after, her presence a bright beam of energy that illuminated the room. Her smile, so genuine and unburdened by the complexities of adult life, was a lifeline to a simpler time. I marveled at her resilience, the way she navigated change with the innate wisdom of youth. We shared breakfast amid the gentle clatter of dishes and the soft cadence of her voice recounting her dreams and daily adventures. Her words painted a tapestry of youthful aspirations, a vivid contrast to the shadowed paths I had recently walked. I listened intently, my heart swelling with a newfound appreciation for the simple joys she brought into my life. The day unfolded with a rhythm that was both familiar and novel, its cadence unbroken by the weight of secrets. Later, as I worked in the study, my thoughts drifted to Emily. In the quiet sanctuary of my mind, I pictured our inevitable meeting, a chance to address the past with clarity and compassion rather than vengeance. When the moment finally came, it was with a sense of calm anticipation. Emily stood at the door, uncertainty etched into her features, a woman once so familiar to me now standing at the crossroads of what had been and what lay ahead. Her eyes met mine, and I saw not just the reflection of our shared scars, but also the flicker of humanity that still bound us together. "Thank you for meeting me," she began, her voice a tentative thread across the distance that had grown between us. I nodded, motioning for her to join me. The conversation that followed was an unraveling, a delicate process of untangling the threads of love, pain, and regret that had woven our history. There was no recrimination, no anger, only the quiet acceptance of what was and what could no longer be. Emily spoke of her struggles, her feelings of invisibility that had driven her toward deception as a means of feeling alive. In her words, I found an echo of the truths I had once feared, a reminder of the complexities that had fractured our lives. Yet, beneath